Hope you are all having a great day. I just want to start off by saying thank you for taking the time to view our presentation on investigating teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Sadiq Khan.
Hi, I'm Alessia Caroli.
I'm Lillian Park.
And I'm Alice Kim. The COVID-19 pandemic began about a year ago and has since had a huge impact on higher education. In an effort to help contain the virus, educators had to quickly and unexpectedly shift their courses from face-to-face delivery to remote delivery in the winter term of 2020. In this study, we investigated the experiences of undergraduate students during this shift in the delivery of their courses through to the completion of their courses online. To do this, we had students complete a guided reflection every 2 weeks, beginning from when courses started being delivered remotely.
Our investigation focused on students enrolled in 2 different mid-level psychology courses at a primarily undergraduate institution in New York. The data were collected from 28 students in one class and 25 students in another course over a span of 8 weeks. Both courses were taught by the same instructor.
To provide a little more context, during the spring of 2020, New York City had become the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak in the United States. The first case of COVID-19 in New York City was reported on March 1st, 2020, and the first instance of community transmission was announced on March 7th. On the same day, the state of New York declared a state of emergency. By April 14th, almost 500,000 of New York State's population was tested, with approximately 195,000 individuals testing positive. By the second week of April, New York City was experiencing approximately 566 deaths per day, with 32.1% of hospitalized patients known to have died.
During our study, students completed the Brookfield Critical Incident Questionnaire, or CIQ, every 2 weeks starting from March 28th to May 13th. This added up to 4 reflections in total that students completed in the winter 2020 semester. The CIQ is typically used by instructors to collect feedback from students about how they experienced the instructor's lesson. In our study, we used students' responses to the CIQ to gain more insight into how they experienced the unexpected shift to remote delivery in the midst of the pandemic. We analyzed students' responses to the following questions from the CIQ. 1. At what moment in this course to date did you feel the most engaged with what was happening? 2. At what moment in this course to date were you most distant from what was happening? And 3. What action that anyone took in this course to date did you find most affirming or helpful? We extracted common themes from students' responses to each of these questions. However, before we share our findings, we'd like you to take a moment and share with us and other attendees your thoughts on the following questions. What do you think students found most engaging? What do you think distanced students the most during the transition to remote delivery? And what instructor actions do you think students found most helpful or affirming? Please use this link or QR code to share your responses on our Google Doc.
In terms of what students found most engaging, we found that active learning was a popular theme that came up across all 4 reflections. Active learning was used to reflect students actively engaging with the course material, including participating in class discussions and activities.
For instance, one student wrote, "I usually felt most engaged in class when we were participating in the small examples/activities. It helped me understand the topics more." Students reported throughout their reflections that they enjoyed class activities as they felt supported through their learning, and they could interact with their peers and the instructor, for instance, through online discussion boards, and could better understand course material. Another student said, "Today we participated in a one-on-one conversation with a classmate to display prison dilemma. Not only did I make a new friend, but it was an interesting process. Also, I like commenting on discussion boards and seeing everybody's style and way of thinking. Overall, active learning kept students engaged throughout their course.
Students also referenced face-to-face classes as an engaging aspect of their course. This theme reflected any learning that students experienced in the physical presence of peers and their instructor. Although students didn't always elaborate on why they found face-to-face classes engaging, when they did, they mentioned live interactions, which this type of delivery allowed for.
One respondent shared that they were most engaged during face-to-face learning, as they were able to ask questions in real time and could hear the input of their fellow classmates. In their words, they wrote, "I felt the most engaged when we were having face-to-face structural learning. Transition to digital learning wasn't complicated, but I was more engaged when I could raise my hand to ask questions in the moment, when I had one, or hear my classmates' point of view." From this passage, it is evident that students were not accustomed to any delay when learning and interacting with peers and their course instructor when classes transitioned online.
It is helpful to know what kept our students engaged when the courses were delivered remotely, so that we can continue to incorporate these engaging aspects of the course moving forward. In the context of this study, lessons were delivered asynchronously, so moving forward, it may be helpful to include a live component in addition to asynchronous lectures.
Regarding what distanced students most from the course, the theme Personal Circumstances was popular for 3 out of the 4 reflections completed by students. Personal circumstances reflected any references to personal issues or challenges that students experienced, which restricted or disrupted their ability to focus on the course. This included students' emotional state, family responsibilities, their learning environment, and the impact of friends or family contracting the COVID-19 virus.
For instance, one student wrote, "It has started to affect me. Sometimes I feel distant to my classwork and class assignments for all my classes, especially when I hear that someone I know is sick, either at home or in the hospital with COVID-19. This virus is starting to affect people in my life and is becoming very real. I worry about my family and my own health. These worries interfere with my ability to focus. Some days are better than others." From this passage and other similar responses, it is clear that personal circumstances resulting from the pandemic not only hindered students from engaging with the course, but also distanced them.
Students also indicated that the transition to remote delivery distanced them from the course. The theme Transition to Remote Delivery reflected both the transition itself or news that it would be happening.
In their reflections, students wrote that they felt distanced during the start of remote delivery because they had to adjust to course changes and the unexpected experience of learning remotely. For example, one student wrote, "The first week of online remote learning was the hardest for me because I was still getting situated with understanding the routes that my professors were taking to continue teaching. Also, on top of that, we were coming back from a 2-week spring break and everything was different."
While online teaching is not new to education, this rapid transition from face-to-face instruction to remote learning due to a global pandemic is unprecedented. The change in students' expectations from face-to-face to remote instruction contributes to their feelings of distancing. Managing students' feelings of loss and disorientation is key to an instructor's ability to bring engagement back to the students. With respect to what actions taken during the course that students found most affirming or helpful, students referenced supportive actions taken by the course instructor. For example, students referenced learning resources that the course instructor provided to students for the purpose of supporting student learning during the pandemic, for 3 out of the 4 reflections completed by students. Students also referenced the instructor providing clear and organized course content, which made it easier for students to navigate course content, as well as the instructor sending updates regarding the course.
For instance, many students wrote that videos were a learning resource that the instructor provided, which was helpful for their learning. One student said, "The Watch Me First videos are really helpful for me. It's like an add-on to the email she sends out to give us a step-by-step breakdown of everything we need to do for the week." Much of the additional material that the instructor provided could be examined when seen best fit by the students, and the variety of learning resources helped better their understanding of the course. On another note, students emphasized how they found it important that the instructor made coursework easily understandable, especially as students work remotely. One student said, "The clarity and explanation of everything we have to do for the week from our professor is the most helpful."
Students also found supportive actions taken by fellow peers as affirming or helpful, and was reflected by the theme student cooperation. This theme was used to refer to any positive student interactions or students contributing positively to the collective class experience.
For instance, one student wrote, "It was by far most helpful to work with a classmate after we watched the lectures to make sure we both understood the content correctly. We studied together before the midterm and before the final, which I found to be the most beneficial in remembering content." This passage emphasizes how students valued positive interactions with their peers and how student cooperation supported their learning.
The rapid transition to remote instruction caused students to feel anxious because they didn't know what to expect. Providing students with a clear structure for the remote delivery of their course helped to reduce their anxiety. This included recording a brief weekly video where the instructor demonstrates where students can find links for assignments and lectures, also providing opportunities for students to engage in real-time interaction helped to give them a sense of normalcy.
Overall, our results suggest that active learning and face-to-face interactions were valued by students as being the most engaging aspects of the course, whereas personal circumstances and the sudden transition to remote learning contributed to students feeling distance from their course. Students also identified specific actions taken by others, such as the course instructor and fellow peers, which were found as helpful and affirming during the COVID-19 pandemic. Our results highlight the importance of active learning practices and the ways in which instructors can support student learning through flexible, asynchronous content delivery and course organization. Hope you are all having a great day. I just want to start off by saying thank you